You fixed it? Look at this.
I think Pat's headphones are faulty.
Hello? I think we're good now.
We're good. All right, let's get the
John, we're good?
let's get the rocket rolling.
We're good. We're
Let's
good.
get yeah! Pumped up! Welcome to Launch a Podcast! Yeah! Bud,
Pump it up.
pump it up! We're talking about safety
We should
today.
we should make that our thing. Intro. Pump it up.
Some nice beating music.
Yeah, we're gonna put these bloopers in too, because we always have fun with those.
Except for now.
There we are. It's been recording for a while.
Really? Okay.
All right, you ready?
Let's do it.
You ready, John?
Anytime you're ready.
I know. Hey, welcome to another Launch It podcast. Today, as always, you got me, Matt.
We got myself, Karandeep, and our special guest for today is going to be John Farquhar. And yeah, we're going to be talking about safety today. And John has a wealth of knowledge, and hopefully it'll be an insightful one for you, and I know it'll definitely be an insightful one for me.
Well, specifically safety, like truck safety. What kind of safety do you talk about, John? Like, is it all kinds of safety, or?
The majority of the focus is with transportation. So trucks, cars, school buses, municipality vehicles, bicycles a little bit if you want. But yeah, most of it's based on transportation, commercial motor vehicles.
Nice. You said bicycles. I'm curious about that one right at the top. I know we can get into the transportation, but what safety for bicycles do you do?
Riding, don't fall off. Yes, I own a bicycle. My wife has a bicycle, and the main thing is go straight and don't fall off.
Well, that's good. Well, safety is very important right now, as always, as it is every day. But more important right now in the winter months up here in Canada, because of the weather, the inclement weather. Out west you have the Rockies are full of snow. I know we don't feel it as much here in Toronto, but it's there and it's dangerous. People don't understand how dangerous it can be until you see a truck jackknifing, until you see a car pile up, until you see the disasters. John, what are some great words of advice that you would say to on an individual basis before we get into the whole asset-based basis on how to be safe out there during these type of storms, weathers, and things to do besides not going up? We have to go up.
Oh,
We're locked up. We can't go up.
It'd be nice if we could get paid and park the vehicles. That'd be wonderful. So, but unfortunately, that day hasn't come yet. So, probably the best thing I could start off with is know your environment that you're about to go into. You know, look at your weather. Go onto the weather apps, find out what's going on, look at your routes, Google Maps, Apple Maps, Waze, all kinds of different apps will tell you what's going on with regards to traffic, closed roads, anything along that line. So as an operations entity, helping your drivers know what those routes are before they're going to head out. As a driver, pay attention before you go. Look at the weather, find out what's going on, what storms are coming in. The weather is pretty good at predicting, not accurately, but give you a rough idea of what's going on, and know what routes you're going to travel. Talk to your coworkers, other drivers that maybe run that route. Maybe you're a driver this is the first time you're going to run across Northern Ontario heading out to Winnipeg, and you're kind of like, I've never been there before. I don't know what I'm getting into. Talk to one of the guys on the fleet that does that regularly. He'll give you an idea. Be prepared. Make sure you got proper clothing, some extra food, water, emergency essentials and stuff like that. These things are all items that you need to think about before you get into that situation. And I think there's been enough people out there that didn't, so we could learn from their mistakes.
And I think most people don't even think about that. I know as an individual, I drove up here to Toronto the other day, and I didn't look at the weather. I just hopped in my car, went on the highway, talking to my wife on the phone. Halfway through, I go, "Hey, honey, I gotta get off the phone." She goes, "Why? It's snow-covered highways right now. I need to focus."
Forgot my jacket.
Right? So people don't realize how much planning will help you avoid a bad situation.
Correct. Very much so. Very much so. Yep. So, and the technology is there. Like, we've got the ability to find out what's going on in the next few hours, the next 24, 36 hours. So, Do I need to look at 7 days down the road? Nah, not going to do me any good when I'm planning a trip now because the weather changes so much. But knowing what's going on in the next few hours before I get to that region, or the next 12, 24 hours, so help me prepare before I get up there, by all means.
So, actually, maybe KP, do you have anything you want to kind of ask before I go off on my tirade like I usually do and don't you speak, which is a very common theme in all of our podcasts?
No, it's fine. I think we'll just have the flow of things going. I'll ask questions as we go.
Yeah, perfect.
I'll be more, what's it called, authoritative.
More
I like that.
intentful.
That'll work.
Um,
That'll work.
John, tell us about like one of your people like hearing stories. Tell us like a case scenario that you heard that you kind of scratched your head and go, how did that even happen?
Anything in particular? I have lots of them.
Actually, before that, how about we actually start with what you actually do?
Oh,
Hey, there's an idea.
Because I know you've met a bunch of my colleagues before, so they have, I guess, a general idea. But I know as you're the safety guy, but what does that entail?
What does a safety guy mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So let me give you a little background on who I am and what I've done over the last 40 years. So I started my career off as a driver. Like a lot of us, drove truck for a number of years. I spent 20 years behind the wheel. During that course of 20 years, I bought a couple of trucks, became an owner operator, had a small fleet of trucks, 2 or 3 trucks, and then bought the company that I was working for and expanded that. We ran all over North America, hauling flatbeds, step decks, double drops, all kinds of weird configurations of equipment and whatnot, over-dimensional loads, and ran in all kinds of weather and had fun. And then in 2003, I closed the company down, decided I didn't want to drive anymore, wanted to try something different. So I got into risk management and took all my years of knowledge of operating equipment and learning what was right to do and what was wrong to do, and turned that into a risk management consulting firm. Did that for a few years and then got scooped up by a very large global insurance company that starts with Z. Anyway, worked with them for about 7 years, was the trainer, team leader, national transportation manager across Canada, had about a dozen people working under me that we specialized in risk management with our insured customers. So we'd go out and help them to better manage their risk management practices. In 2013, I took a turn and moved to a different insurance company, a Canadian company called The Guarantee, and worked with them for 7 years, and just left there this past May and decided it was time to start my own, Summit Risk Solutions. So we specialize in working with carriers like the one you guys are with, helping them to implement risk management practices, best practices. One of my specialties is not so much let me do it for you as let me show you what you need to do. Let me teach you what you need to do. So I'm more the teacher and the mentor to come in and teach your people what they need to know about risk management and how to implement those practices. So with my vast, almost 40 years of knowledge, we've been able to portray that into putting it into the hands of people in the operations and the safety departments of different trucking companies to help them do a better job, help them to better manage drivers. Anything that we can do to improve safety is a big plus, because if we can improve safety, well, we can probably improve the bottom line. One of the big things that we're seeing today, and I think every trucking company out there can attest to this, is insurance is a big problem.
Oh yeah.
Trying to get insurance for one, or trying to keep your insurance. Every carrier will probably chew and complain about the price of their insurance, but there's something they can do about it. You know, it's better manage the risks that they got involved. Don't leave it on the shoulders of the insurance company, because all they're going to do is jack the rates up to compensate for how bad you are. So if you can better managing that risk, you can manage increases. So this way here, we're never going to get away from increases, because there's always going to be increases in premiums. But if I can manage those increases so they're not outrageous, like we're seeing a lot that are 40, 50, 60% increases, if we can manage it down to 2 to 3%, 5%, that's good. So, but at the same time, there's a lot of carriers out there that are so bad at what they're doing, their insurance companies don't even want to insure them anymore. They've just said, we've had enough. We're going to wash your hands and have a nice day.
And that's what it comes to, like the insurance piece, where we've had, I've experienced on the broker side, and I think KP as well too, where these guys are using insurances which are underwritten by an underwriter, by an underwriter, by an underwriter, by an underwriter. And when there's a claim, all of a sudden, everybody's gone.
Yep.
And you're going, well, I thought we were protected here. And then,
Yep.
We didn't look at the safety record. We didn't go, you don't go in depth as you're supposed to. And you realize early on in the brokerage side or in the 3PL side that, that safety aspect that you're talking about is very much important for us to manage, not just from your perspective as a safety guy, but for us to go dig deep into that carrier's profile and go, let's talk about this accident you had, or let's talk about why you're using X company out of London, UK, but nothing in Canada. Like, what's going on here, right? And I think that's a great point to make, that if your insurance is high, then you're cutting corners. And if you're cutting corners, you're doing something wrong.
Yep.
And there's a reason that there's safety protocols for it, right?
Yep. Very much. Very much.
I guess going back to the 40 to 60% increases in insurance you mentioned, is that just like insurance upping it because of, there's no other kind of a monopoly, or is that actually justified for them to increase it 60%?
Well, sometimes it's justified because when insurance companies price your insurance, one of the big things they take into account is your current losses. What have I got over the last 3 to 5 years? And then what should I charge you? So if your losses are $1 million a year, okay, let's just use some round numbers. So if your losses are $1 million a year, over a 5-year period, that's $5 million.
Yeah.
If your insurance provider is only charging you $1 million a year, they're losing a ton of money.
Yeah.
And even at that, they're going to want to charge you at least $5 million a year. But even at that, they're not going to make a lot of money, because the inevitable is, if you're having $1 million in losses a year, chances are one of those is going to turn really big. And that's what they're counting on that to happen if you don't have the proper protocols in place. So it's always kind of hedging your bet to see where this is going to go. And unfortunately, nobody can predict the future. We have to use history as our pricing tool. So they're looking at how bad's the operation, the lack of training, the jurisdictions we're traveling in. What are all these factors that are pointing to the fact that we've got $1 million in losses every year, and I need to make money? So when you get to some of these higher increases, insurance providers are now going, I don't even know if I want to take that risk on anymore.
The risk.
So they're more inclined to go, nah, take your business somewhere else. I'm not interested. And go ahead.
Isn't that adding to the problem in the industry though, a little bit, John? Because now we got
very much so, because we're only down to about 2 major players right now. So yeah, and there's these major players that are left in it are going, I don't want all of it. I want the good stuff. I don't want the bad stuff. And the other insurance providers that are out there that don't specialize in it, you probably got about maybe 5 or 6 that dabble in it. They're going, well, we don't know enough about it, so I'm just going to charge you an outrageous price and hopefully I'll make money.
Yeah.
So, and this is the problem. We've had a lot of insurance partners exit the industry over the last few years, and this is what's forced us into what's called a hard market. It's hard to find insurance and the price is outrageous, which is hard. So, so these are challenges that trucking companies and transportation people are having with trying to find or keep insurance.
So what would you recommend if, I got me and KP here, we're bright young guys, and all of a sudden we wake up one morning and go, we want to start our own trucking company. Yeah, we know a lot. We know brokerage, we know some assets, we got customers, we can figure it out. Yep. What more do you need? You got a salmon sweater boy and KP the Raptors basketball. We can figure it out.
Probably the best advice I could say is, if you're looking to be a millionaire in trucking, start with 2 million.
Yeah.
So, because you're going to lose $1 million really quick if you're not doing it right. So for somebody to take that scenario that you're talking about, you know, two guys young and vim and vigor and ready to go, but don't maybe have a lot of experience, first thing I'd tell you is hire the right people to help you build it, you know. And risk management is huge. You need to have somebody that knows their safety, compliance, hiring, training, and whatnot. Your biggest risk is the nut behind the wheel. That's the biggest risk. You know, it's human behavior. It changes. We're not sitting beside. It's not like a manufacturing facility that's making widgets, you know, and you've got an assembly line process and there's a manager walking up and down the line and he's monitoring everybody, how they're doing their performance and working, and go, oh, Bob, here, hang on just a minute, Bob. Don't do it that way. Do it this way. I don't want you to get hurt. You know, and then they go to the next guy. Oh, Matt, be careful. Yep, step back 2 inches. You're too close, right? They're going to help you. They're going to be there. They're addressing safety issues all the time. But when you put a driver in a truck and send him on his way, when's the next time you see him?
But to that point, John, is you got technology like Samsara, for example,
Yep.
who has dash cams and there's other companies like it, but the only one that comes to my mind right now. You got a dash cam. It tells you if I'm closing my eyes, I'm doing whatever. So you have that ability now.
Right.
So the biggest thing now is the monitoring part. So what I find is a lot of companies, they have all these great tools, you know, they have all this great technology, and you know they don't know how to use it, right? So how do you mitigate that? Like how do you kind of run a risk-free kind of trucking company with all the tools, or is that always going to be like you got to be that diligent that you're monitoring 24/7? Like how do you go about it?
So you're never going to have a risk-free trucking company. Never going to happen. That's the challenge of running a transportation company. The trick is, how do I best manage this so that one, I can sleep at night, two, make sure everybody comes home safely at night or at the end of their trip. So a lot of it's monitoring. So you touch on like dash cameras, Samsara, Lytics. There's all some great tools out there, some excellent devices, but they're only good as they are monitored. So that's a big challenge. You have, let's go back a number of years to the, let's say the early 90s. You had satellites, all new, was all coming out. And everybody thought, ooh, this is the big thing. I got a satellite in my truck. And insurance companies loved it. You got a satellite, we'll insure you. But the funny part was, you'd no sooner get it installed and then you'd turn it off because it costs money to run it. I got my insurance. What's the big deal? Let's go. Well, it took insurance companies a long time to realize, they're not using it. They're not learning anything from it. So what good is it, right? So you could no longer rely on the fact we have this in the truck. So your Samsaras, your Lytics, your dash cameras, same thing applies. I got this really cool tool. That's fine. I don't care that you got the tool. I want to know what you're doing with the tool. What are you learning? How are you managing driver behavior? What is it you're doing to mitigate the risk? Because you're not there. It's not like you're, even with dash cameras, it's not like I'm sitting beside the guy where I could reach over and grab the steering wheel or pull the spike for the brakes to slow you down. You know, you might be distracted driving down the road looking at your phone and the camera picks that up. That's cool. But if I don't recognize it in the monitoring stage till 3 hours later, we probably crashed already.
Yep.
So the tools are great, but they're only as good as the monitoring processes and then the management processes that put in place to deal with that behavior. You know, a lot of these systems are now coming out with immediate alerts. So take a dash camera, it picks up the fact that you're speeding down the road, and then all of a sudden, as soon as you go over a set limit, it sends a beep into the cab and warns the driver, hey, you're speeding. You're speeding. Slow down. You know, so you've got something. Okay, I got to pay attention. Hard brake, and all of a sudden it tells you, ooh, you just had a hard brake. You got to be careful. Pay attention. So these systems are now starting to get to the point where, you know, you look down at your phone and the AI picks it up. They're starting to send alerts to be able to say, hey, what are you doing? But at the same time, the driver has to recognize, what did I just do? Yeah. And subconscious behavior plays into this. perfect example I'll use. You want a story? Here's a story. Driver's driving down a road and he's being monitored through a dash camera, a live cloud feed. And interesting enough, we recognize that the driver looks down at his phone 6 times every hour.
Wow.
It's not a lot, really. Not a lot. There's a lot more to it, but just using the number, 6 times he grabs his phone and looks at it every hour. Bring him back, sit down with the driver and say, hey, we noticed you're touching your phone. And he's like, oh yeah, I feel really bad. Yeah. How often do you think you're touching your phone? Oh, I don't know, 5 or 6 times a day. He has no idea.
Yeah.
Well, then you show him the footage and you go, look, this is an hour's worth of footage, 6 times. And he's astonished. He has no idea. He's going, I thought I was better than that. I didn't know it. So we monitor, we capture, now we need to coach. So we got to coach the driver to bring to his attention the behaviors that he's dealing with so that he recognizes that. So even with the beeping in the vehicle that tells you you did something, you need to know, well, what did I do? And how do I change that behavior?
Maybe you should put those sprays on, like, for training. If you're driving down the road,
The
you
mist.
sprays in your face.
I think what would be good is spray him with Chanel No. 5. And then when they get out of the truck and go on a truck stop, somebody will be thinking, where's he?
Where he has that new system. Chanel by Summit Risk.
Yeah. I can tell he's distracted. He's got Chanel No. 5 on.
You must be thinking about me.
Oh,
That's too funny. So from a perspective of a broker, what can a broker do better with his carriers to understand their safety records of the carriers they're hiring? Because that's becoming a more and more of a function of, I think, a broker as well nowadays.
right. So when you say broker, you're talking insurance broker or freight broker?
Freight broker, sorry.
Freight broker. Okay. So one of the things that freight brokers need to know is they need to know their partnering carriers a little bit more. So yes, knowing what their carrier profiles are, whether they're safe, what their out of service rates are, how many times they're being stopped at the scales. I talked to lots of carriers that do freight brokering internally. And one of the things you've got to do is, I'm going to put my customer's freight on your truck. So the question is, how safe are you? And is it going to get to the destination? And can I count on you like I can count on my own drivers?
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you've got a carrier that's got a carrier profile and you're looking at it and he's got all these out of service violations and defects, and he's like, wow, constantly getting stopped at the scales, you got to start realizing that freight is going to be on one of them trucks one of these days. And my customer is going to be peed off big time because that freight's not going to get there. And God forbid we have the next thing happen and he rolls one in a ditch and that's my customer's freight on that wagon.
Yep.
So now we have a bigger problem. How do I explain to my customer? And then my customer goes, well, did you vet these guys very good? Because there's no doubt we're seeing a lot of it today. Customers are starting to ask their carriers that work in-house, what's your safety profiles look like?
Yep.
I want to see your carrier profile. So that's not always going to be possible when they're dealing with a freight broker who's maybe dealing with hundreds of thousands of carriers. He's going to be wanting to know, well, what's your protocols for managing these carriers, making sure that they're safe, got adequate insurance coverage, not going to be parked on the side of the road and whatnot. Like, don't jeopardize my freight movement or you're going to jeopardize our relationship.
Yeah. What would you say? What percentage of people do you think know how to read the safety breakdown of a carrier?
God.
I'm gonna
Not
say
as many as I'd like. That's
3%.
for sure.
3%. I don't know.
That's too
I
much?
think
You
it'd be higher than that.
like on the safety website.
Yeah.
I don't have a general idea of it, but not like each single line item.
And I think that's the biggest challenge, because when you start looking at those pieces, when you see an overall number, it depends how it aggregates the data. There's 2 sets of different numbers they can
Yep.
see.
Yep.
Are you at the top percentile? And a lot of people, I don't think, understand what a top percentile number means.
Correct.
And then the other one that is like the overall, how many incidents you have and how it affects your number. But if you look at, and you jump in whenever you
Yep.
feel like messed up, and you probably will. It's funny because I think it's almost unfairly done, because it also bases on how many trucks you have. So if you have someone like a giant carrier, call them, Rapid from the U.S., and they're very rapid at what they did, not a carrier. Hopefully, everybody gets know what I'm talking
Okay,
about.
I'll stop you there. I'll stop you there. So from the US, there are only 2 basics. So out of the 7 basic scores, there's only 2 that take your fleet size into account. Unsafe driving and crash.
Right.
The rest of them are based on the number of inspections that you have.
Right.
So, and then you get put into a classification or a grouping of the number of inspections you've had versus your peers. So the size of your fleet doesn't necessarily matter. You're not grouped based on your fleet size. It's based on your activity.
But at the same time, the more of a bigger a fleet size you have, the higher probability of hitting more of the inspection, right? Just by math.
So that's possible. I don't buy it. For the simple fact is, how good are your management practices?
Yeah.
If you're running a really good, safe ship, and I've got 100 trucks, I'm going to be better than the guy that is not running a safe ship who's only 25 trucks.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? So it's all about your management practices. Your company culture is going to be huge there. I know guys. I've clients from my past days here. Their carrier profiles are like next to nothing. You know, they're 40, 50 power unit fleets, and they've got no scores because they don't do anything. Equipment's top notch. Drivers don't get violations. You know, if they have 1 violation a year, that surprises them. They're not liking it, but they're very tight on their management. Whereas I've seen other fleets, 10 power units, his numbers are off the chart. And it's like, but you're not managing the behavior. You know, and all it takes is 1 or 2 drivers to turn it sideways.
Sorry? Yeah, I was going to say, do you have anything?
Yeah, I guess it's more so maybe touching back on the insurance rates. So you're saying it's harder for carriers to get insurance, or companies that are wanting to grow, it's harder for them to maybe get more coverage. And I know on top of that, we have like a driver shortage as well, right? So there's a bunch of things that are attacking the trucking industry, right? So I know we haven't reached the tipping point of where, you know, our consumer goods have really increased drastically because of trucking costs, but you see a point where that may be the case where, you know, insurance costs is so much that, you know, there's only that just hypothetically 100 players in Canada left really trucking, and they're monopolizing the market. On top of that, there's a trucking shortage as well. Like there's just a bunch of things happening. Do you see?
So, okay, so let's address a couple here. So let's take the driver shortage, as you call it. I don't think there's a driver shortage. So, and I'll ask you this question. When you go to the store, can you get bread and milk still?
Yeah.
Can you buy the products that you need for the most part?
Yeah.
Don't see solid empty shelves up and down the aisleways?
Well, besides the great era of toilet paper.
Toilet paper, yeah, we'll give that
one. besides that, yes.
Yeah. But for the most part, you can go to the store and get what you need.
Yeah.
So that tells me right off the bat, we don't have a shortage of drivers. So, and if you take into account.
Yeah, but that's more of a.
Hang on, I'll come back. I'll finish it off for you. So, and then we take into account every company I go to see probably has a lineup of drivers looking for a job, right? They're always going through applications. They're taking guys for road tests. I get so many guys that tell me, oh, geez, I did 5 road tests this week. I did 10 road tests this week. Oh God, we do a lot of road tests every week. Okay, so there's no shortage of drivers. What there is a shortage of qualified drivers.
Okay.
This is the problem. I want a guy who's got 3 years experience and not a mark on his driver abstract. I'm not going to find them. And the reason I'm not going to find them is because they're working for the competition, because the competition is treating them way better than I am, or way I could. So the only way I'm going to get him is I'm going to have to lure him over here, and I better have a package and a culture that's better than what he's dealing with. But a lot of them are quite happy and content where they are. I like what I do. I like where I am. I'm quite happy with that. But when you've got companies and dare I say it, startup companies that haven't figured out how to do it yet and don't know how to treat people, whether it be drivers, get them home every week or every other day or something along that line, and pay them well, these are some of the challenges. So there's where we see a revolving door because this isn't for me. Or I'm a bad driver, I'm just looking for a job, and then you find out how bad I am, and then you terminate me, and then I got to replace you. So this is what causes this huge turnover issue, is not I can't find drivers, I just can't find the right drivers. And that's the problem we've got. Until we start having bare shelves, then we're going to have a huge shortage of drivers. So
what would what would the solution for that be? Is it bringing, people from overseas who are qualified drivers to fill that pool, or
no, I think
hourly rates.
I think we're seeing that problem right now, that, there's a lot of foreign drivers, new Canadians coming in and looking for a job. But one of the dilemmas I see is a lot of these guys are coming in and they're not truck drivers. It's easy to get into truck driving, but they're just not truck drivers. Truck drivers it's a tough breed. I was one for 20 plus years. I know what it's like out there living by yourself for a long period of time. And a lot of guys are going, I'm sick of it. I don't want to do it anymore. It doesn't pay what it should. Pay raises haven't gone up the way they should. Freight rates are not where they should. We know that the cost of iron is outrageously expensive. Insurance is off the chart. Fuel's off the chart. Everything to do with trucking is off the chart except for the rates. They're under the chart.
Yeah.
So this becomes a huge challenge for any company that's operating. So they're operating on tight margins. So where do we get into the money when we need more money? Usually the first things we see go are safety and maintenance. And that's not where it should be going. But unfortunately, there's too many carriers out there, as we know, you guys will know the same thing, that they're cut their own rate just to keep truck moving.
Yep.
I had a phrase when I had my trucks. We had a phrase. It was cheaper to go broke in the driveway. We wouldn't haul cheap freight. We literally, we would not. We parked the truck in the driveway and sit home for a week or two because it was cheaper. I wasn't burning fuel. I wasn't taking risks by putting the truck in an exposed situation. Sure, I had a truck payment. Sure, I had to pay my insurance, pay my driver. It was cheaper than taking a risk. But at the same time, when we were working back there, that'd be the 80s and 90s. Holy crap, we were making $3 a mile for a legal load. I don't see that anymore. Back then. And my insurance was half the price it is today. My truck was half the price. My last new truck was $150,000. And that was decked out. That was the beginning of 2000. That was decked out Peterbilt, and now we're looking at 200 plus for the same truck. And it's like, what? And the rates are less. So all these little things are combining into what's going on. Every company owner would love to pay their driver more money. I know they would. And if they paid them more money, and right now I'm on a big kick with in social media on hourly pay. Get away from the mileage pay, get on the hourly pay, because new drivers coming into the industry right now, they don't understand mileage. They don't understand how that works, because it's like, okay, you're going to pay me 45 cents a mile to drive the truck, but you want me to unload the truck. You want me to wait while the truck's unloading. You want me to reload it. Oh, you want me to do a vehicle inspection, but you're not paying me for that. Well, it's all incorporated into the 45 cents a mile, but they don't see that. They don't understand that. Whereas if I said, you know what, I'm going to pay you $23 to drive the truck, and I'm going to pay you $18 an hour when you're doing a pre-trip, when you're waiting to get unloaded and reloaded. That the new people understand. Oh, okay. Oh, geez, I put in 40, 50 hours a week. Oh, 60 hours a week. Whoa, look at that. I'm going to get paid for every hour. And with ELDs right now, there's your time clock. It's in the truck. It's already there. Simplified. So, but that's just one area, of ways to improve, but they're challenges no matter what. It's not like we could all just snap our fingers tomorrow and go, all right, we're going to start paying all the guys by the hour. We need to get the rates up. Rates need to come up so that they can support the safety programs, the training programs, maintenance of the vehicles, and hiring people inside. We still need people inside that can manage all these tasks.
It's a little bit of a catch-22 then, because let's just say if freight rates go up, that means consumer goods goes up. That goes up, right?
Yep. Everybody's got that.
I don't know if that argument makes sense. The whole argument of people don't want to raise minimum wage. They're gonna double the price of a hamburger, right? So then, because if you bring up minimum wage to $15, the price of a hamburger is going to go up to $20 to $30.
Things did go up though.
But they don't. So
they did go up since it went to $50. Things did go up.
Yeah.
Maybe not as drastic as other people said, but there was an increase.
Yeah. Well, everything has to go up within reason, but at the same time, so let's use some examples. You guys are brokers. Let's take some examples. So, let's go 1,000 miles,
Yeah.
and we're charging $2 a mile. Is that a fair rate?
Yeah.
$2 a mile, and all of a sudden, my fuel's up, my insurance is up, and you know what? Holy crap! I need to pay my drivers more. So I want 50 cents a mile more. Nah, hell with it. Nah, I want $1 a mile more. I want to go to $3 a mile. So I want another $1,000 on that shipment, right? So the shipment is a load of Barbie dolls, probably worth 50, 60 grand. Okay. $1,000 on that load. How many Barbie dolls would we have in the trailer?
20,000.
There you go. 20,000 Barbie dolls. So how much does the price of that Barbie doll go up to compensate for that extra $1,000?
10
Not
cents.
much price. Yeah, 5, 10 cents.
Exactly. So when you can get people to realize, yeah, I'm going to cut into your profits, Mr. Barbie doll manufacturer, but pass it on to the consumer. If the consumer wants the Barbie doll, they're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
If I want something and it's of good quality, I'll pay for it. I don't mind. But it's not like I'm paying $1,000 for it. It's going to be distributed over the cost of the goods.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. A lot of people are thinking, oh, everything's going to go through. No, it's got to go up. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to go up proportionately.
See, the industries that it hurts the most, not industries like most people think about. It's more like the paper industry, where every slice of paper, there's certain razor thin margins that a $100 increase on transportation is to make or break for their model, right? And that's the industries that will eventually hurt. But I mean, that needs to go away anyway, because who's buying newspapers nowadays as they used to? Trump is over. Nobody's going to be buying. Nobody's buying paper anymore.
It's actually funny. It's like, I don't know if they started again, but just the other day I saw like, how they used to throw the flyers on your driveway?
Yep.
I actually saw one on my driveway the other day. I'm like, they still throw those around?
Oh, that happens to me all the time.
I hadn't seen one in a long time, so I don't know if it was a one-off or like they got new.
You got confused.
They got a new paper boy on the road this week, or what happened?
It's probably cheaper. It's probably cheaper to throw that flyer on the driveway than it is a thumb drive.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough, right? But like, so maybe even bringing back to another point. If I'm a new driver, if I want to get into being a driver, it's hard to get insurance. It's hard to get into a company if I have no experience. How do we even like? How do I become a driver?
Well, the challenge is, to make money out. So let's say you got the drive. First off, you want to have the drive, right? I don't want to get into this just to do it for a year, and then go do something else. Because you're investing a lot of money to get your license to begin with. So let's just figure you got to go to school, because right now in Ontario and most of Canada now, you have to complete a mandatory entry-level training course, which is a requirement by law. You can't get your license anymore. You can't go out and do a road test like I did, 40 some years ago. You just go out and book an appointment, go drive the truck and show you what I can do. And whoo, I passed. All right. That's not allowed anymore. You have to have a training course. So you've got to pay to get the training course. You're going to dump $10,000, right? So right off the bat, you got to get past that stage. Once you get past that stage, the best thing I can recommend for anybody is, if you're looking for a carrier, you want to look for a fairly decent sized carrier, probably 30 to 100 power units. You want to talk to that carrier about a mentoring program, because you're new. You want to learn. When you come out of school, it's not enough. You need to have more education than what they teach you in school. That's why it's called entry level training. Then you need finishing training, which is what the carrier would provide. So you want to hunt out a carrier that provides a training program. And this is one thing a lot of drivers don't do. They're quick to go, oh, my buddy works over there. Yeah, he says he makes good money. But no, that's not the right carrier for you. You need somebody that can invest the time in you, and you're going to invest the time for them. So that becomes the big challenge. And you got to be open to wanting to learn. If you think you're going to walk into a carrier and go, got my AZ, I'm ready to go. If he puts you in a truck right away, I'd be terrified to be on the road with you. So we want to have that finishing training. That's what's really important. So you want a carrier, an employer, let's call it an employer. I want an employer that's going to invest in me to make me better, because I want to be the best driver possible. So I need to do better research on the carriers I'm going to go work for. Shouldn't be just because my buddy will hire me. It needs to be, well, what kind of training have you got? What can you provide me? And at the same time, well, how can I advance my career here? You know, yeah, I'd like to be a driver for probably a couple of years, and then I'd like to maybe own my own truck one day. I want to become an owner operator. Do you have options where, you know, if I'm good enough, can I get into owning my own truck? Will you help me buy a truck, or could you at least show me how to be a good businessman so that I could buy my own truck? So when you can find carriers like that that'll work with you, there's your starting point. And then dedicate the time. You know, listen to the training, listen to the education that you're learning, absorb it, pay attention, and for God's sakes, protect that license. That's huge. If you don't protect that license, it's not going to last. Because once you get one speeding ticket, that carrier may have to get rid of you because, well, you only got 6 months experience. My insurance company won't let me keep anybody that's got a speeding violation or this, that, or other thing. But at the same time, looking after the equipment. If you get a chance to get in, look after the equipment, make sure it's looked after. Don't want to get defects on the side of the road. You want to do a proper job. Work with the carrier, work with the maintenance department to know what you need to do to maintain the vehicle properly. So too many carriers are not, sorry, let me back up. Not too many carriers. Too many drivers are quick to walk into a carrier and let them interview you without you as a driver interviewing that carrier. You need to go, what's your safety record look like? Here's my driving abstract. I have 0 violations, and I don't care if I've got 20, 30 years experience. I got 0 violations. What's your carrier profile look like? Because I don't want to work for a company that has all kinds of violations, and I'm going, well, geez, if your CVOR rate is, say, 40%, I don't want to work for you guys because your trucks are going to get pulled into scale all the time because they're watching you. You know, if you've got an alert status on your SMS profile, they're pulling you across the scales. I don't want to do that. I want a good company to work for. I want somebody that's going to appreciate what I can bring to the table.
How many drivers do you think do that? That's a great suggestion. I've never heard of a driver ask for the safety record of the company.
I would hazard a guess well below 10%, probably single digits. Yeah. They just, a lot of them, they're more interested. I want to get the job. I want to get out and drive a truck.
I just want to make money. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of drivers do too, is they jump in, they get their license, they see owner operators make more money, and they don't have that entrepreneur spirit. They go, I'm going to buy a truck today.
Yep.
And then they're buying a brand new Peterbilt, you know, all the way maxed out with the rims and everything. The Peter guard, you know, they're going, I'm not making any money.
Well, they're too quick to see what that guy's doing. Want to keep up with the Joneses, you know, rather than, hang on, you need to learn everything you possibly can to be a good driver first. And then once you've become a good driver, then you want to learn how to be a good operator, you know? So, and some companies are quick to sell you a truck. You go, yeah, no problem. I got one sitting over here for you, buddy. Let's get you.
Lock you in.
Oh, don't worry about it. It's only 5 years old. That rattle will go away. Don't worry about it. You know, but it's you want a company that's going to go, no, we're not selling you any of that. We're going to help you get into a brand new truck so that you will be successful going forward. We want you to make money. And so you need a brand new truck. You don't need to be paying for repairs. But at the same time, I, as a carrier, would have to be guaranteeing you enough work so that you can pay for that truck. And here's the big one. Make a living. Too many guys do not pay themselves. You know, as an owner operator, they don't pay themselves. They don't take enough money away for themselves. Put all the chrome on the truck you want. Well, I'm sorry, that's not going to feed the children at home. So, but it's about knowing. You have to be educated on this, and that's where you want to find the right carrier that can help educate you, that wants to go, I want you to stay. I want longevity. Every company out there, every carrier will tell you, I don't want this turnover. I'm at 100%, 120% turnover. I don't want it. Even if you're at 50% turnover, that's outrageous. There's no need for it. But it's because you're not treating your people properly. You're probably not hiring them properly. You're hiring the wrong people. They don't have the right drive. They don't have the fit for your company. So these are challenges that you have to do to reduce the turnover and keep those guys for a long time. Any driver that bounces around every year is going to get a bad rap from another carrier, because as soon as I look at your previous employer history and go, holy crap, every year you change jobs. Why do I want to hire you? You know, I don't want you here because I want somebody that's going to stay for 5-10 years. I'm not going to waste my time hiring you because I'm going to lose all my money in 12 months. You're going to leave. So drivers need to realize that it's not always greener on the other side of the fence. You need to know how to weigh your apples and oranges, and you'll find out that sometimes oranges are actually apples in disguise. So there's not going to be a lot of difference. The way it's painted looks different, but by the time you get into it, it's like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. Oh, let's go back to you interviewing the carrier and thoroughly understanding what the cards are that are on the table. That becomes a big challenge. So, and again, if you're not looking after yourself, learning, taking the training, getting the safety training and the education that you need, you're not going to become a better driver. Better drivers are sought after. They're not just hired.
It's true.
Yeah. So
I guess switching gears, how is the risk management industry or your firm preparing for AI, or not AI trucks, autonomous trucks?
autonomous
Self-driving
trucks? Yeah.
The great old Tesla trucks?
Yeah. I think we're, from an insurance perspective and risk management perspective, there's still a lot of unknowns. It's a long way off yet. We're of all the same mind, I would say. I think anybody that's in the trucking industry is realizing it's not going to be an autonomous vehicle for quite a while. You're still going to have a driver in that truck, even though I sit there and put my hands up. Oh, this is a relaxing drive. I'm still going to need to be behind the wheel to take over in the event of emergency. So I don't know that it's going to be out anytime soon, but there's still so many unanswered questions just from a liability perspective.
Yeah.
If you're involved in a crash with an autonomous vehicle, who's at fault?
Well,
these are things that haven't been answered yet.
Even to that point, have you heard of platooning, where there's 3 trucks, and the first one's only the driver, and the other 2 are following every move of the one behind it, and they're so close to each other, it's almost like marginal space.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's based off the reaction of the front guy. I see that coming in more quicker than the AI piece.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And it's more for the long haul.
Right. But the problem with the platooning is there's been a lot of talk about it. It's highly unlikely that it's going to happen in Canada or the northern US.
No.
The southern US, I could see it happening. But you take the turnpikes right now. So New York Turnpike, you can put 253s behind one another and haul them down the road. There's your platooning.
Yeah.
We've got that in Canada already.
Yeah.
Your long combination vehicles. It's already in place. Why do I need to invest all this money in another truck to follow the first truck? Well, I already got 2 trailers connected together running Toronto, Montreal, no problem at all. Winnipeg to Calgary, it's already there. So I think it's going to come in the US before you're autonomous. I agree with you there, but it's going to be in the southern states. I can't see it coming into Canada anytime soon. There's a lot of investment already in the LCV side.
Yeah. It's not an easy market, at least in Ontario, Quebec, because there's not enough of that length. But I know at my previous job, from Winnipeg to Calgary, that lane there, that's all you see is LCV all day long, like bus schedule.
Oh, and it's a great area for it. It's flat, like Cripes, you're going through Saskatchewan, the province of I can watch my dog run away for 3 days. So
you can see the curvature of the earth. It's so flat.
Oh, there is no curvature of the earth in Saskatchewan.
Hey, you're not a flat earther, are you? Come on.
We love our Saskatchewan fans, by the way.
What it is Saskatchewan is actually a divot. So when you put it to the curvature of the earth, it's flat.
That's too funny. John, maybe tell us, like maybe I started off prematurely at it, but let's hear some good stories. I want to hear some good stories from risk management, what not to do, best practices, kind of like those kind of interesting, stories that you tell around the pub.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So let's take some ugly ones here. So let's start off with a light one. Driver is involved in a motor vehicle collision, southern U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what state, but he's involved in a motor vehicle collision in an intersection. Mm-hmm. He's coming through the intersection, and he's doing a little faster than he should be. Probably doing about 5 over the posted speed limit, but the light is green. Okay, so light's green. He's coming through there, and so paint the picture. Nice, big, shiny red Peterbilt, flat top sleeper, 6-inch chrome stacks, you know, pulling a great big stainless steel reefer trailer. Perfect. And all of a sudden, he's in the middle of the intersection. He's T-boned from the right-hand side by a car coming in from his right direction.
Running a red light.
She ran the red light. So it's a lady. It's grandma, and she's got 2 grandchildren in the vehicle with her. Grandma's killed, and the 2 grandchildren are badly hurt.
Oh no.
Who's at fault?
Well, ideally, it's not the driver, it's the grandma's fault, but it depends on the hours of service and all that kind of background on the driver. How well he's been keeping his dog.
Based on the incident, just based on the incident, that intersection incident, who's at fault?
I'd say grandma.
I'd say grandma.
I'd say grandma.
Right, grandma's at fault. So, interesting enough, grandma's daughter hates trucks. So she lawyers up, gets a plaintiff attorney in there. Plaintiff attorney comes back and says, well, let's look at the truck. Let's find out. What he does, so back to your hours of service, speed of the vehicle, he goes back 7 days. And he notices, based on the hours of service, this truck has averaged 72 miles an hour for the last 7 days straight. And they're like, well, it's not possible because the states that he's running in don't allow that high of a speed. A number of them were 65 mile an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So then what they did is they traced it backwards and said, well, hang on. If we said he started here and he followed the speed limit as he should have, oh, he should never have made it to that intersection. So now, Mr. Truck Driver, that big shiny Peterbilt, is now partially at fault.
Mm-hmm.
And now they base the loss on the size of the vehicle. So he takes a good portion of that incident. And so this is where it's so important to make sure your hours of service are spot on and you're not speeding, because you may think, oh, I can get this load in quicker and I can get there faster, but it's going to get to a point where it's going to catch up with you. And this is a perfect example of just that. So, and unfortunately, that turned into several $1 million. So that one got really expensive. So
in those incidents, is it the driver's company that kind of looks out for that, or is that the driver itself who's liable for
so the
that?
company's on the hook because they have the liability insurance. Now, if the granddaughter decided, or the daughter, I should say, if the daughter decided she wanted to sue the company civilly, she could then bring in the driver. So the driver could be sued for speeding, reckless endangerment, all kinds of different charges could be brought up. And the next thing you know, he might lose his house, might lose that nice shiny Peterbilt he bought, might lose a pickup truck he bought. So he can be held accountable through a civil lawsuit. And this is where drivers need to really understand it's more than just the speeding. You know, there's so much more involved here. So the company needs to have programs in place that manage this. So today's day and now this was back in the 90s when this took place. So this is quite a long time ago. This is before your telematics data and whatnot. But nowadays we've got the telematics data. I can turn that truck down. I can govern that truck to whatever speed I want. You know, there's telematics that can connect in with the ECM of the truck now, that literally I can tap on my computer and I can change the speed of that truck while it's going down a road. So if I have a driver that's speeding and I'm going, I'm not liking this, he's doing 65 all the time, I go in right through my telematics device and I can turn that truck down to 55 mile an hour right away. And all of a sudden that driver's going to be going, whoa, what's going on here? This is something's not right. And he's going to call dispatch and go, what's going on? You know, my truck just stopped. It's only doing 55. Yeah. We told you about the speeding. We told you we were going to turn your truck down. Well, I didn't think you could do it on the fly. Technology's here. We can do it.
That's crazy.
So, you know, we know the technology's there. I can change the temperature on a reefer while it's going down a road.
Yeah.
You know, so there's lots of opportunities. So, okay, so let's take another scary one. This one's more recent. This was probably, I want to say 4, maybe 5 years ago. Drivers pulled over on the side of the road, tractor trailer. He's pulled off the live lane. He's over on his shoulder as far as he can get to the right, so he's not an impediment to traffic. Puts out his triangles. He's got a mechanical situation. He's called dispatch. They've contacted a service truck to come out. Service truck's out, having a look. The service truck is parked at the front of the tractor trailer. He's got his lights going, hood's up. They're trying to diagnose what's going on. Mechanic comes out from underneath the truck and says, okay, I figure out what it is. We can get you rolling here shortly. And before he can get turned around and headed to his service truck, it's wham in the back end. A pickup truck. So a pickup truck seats 7 people, had a bench in the front and a quad cab bench in the back. So it seats 6, but it had 7 people in the vehicle. And he ran into the back of the trailer, which was, remember, off the side of the road. Okay. So all of a sudden, the driver's killed. 2 of the passengers are killed, and the rest of them, 4 of them are badly injured. Okay. And this is horrific damage. Anyway, so thankfully the mechanic got out just in time because it actually shifted the truck. I think it was almost 10 feet. So
wow.
the hit was so
That's
hard.
crazy.
So,
Yeah.
so let me ask a question. Who's at fault?
Well, clearly it's going to be the driver, but it should be the guy in the truck. Not like these stories are not good, John.
Right. But so yeah, the pickup driver should. But why would you think that? Because we know it's going to go there. Why would we think that the carrier and the driver for the carrier are partially at fault? What would indicate you or make you think that they may be dragged into this lawsuit?
I'll let you go first, Katie.
I'll let you go.
Oh, you want to pull one of those? For me, it'd be what preventive maintenance had they done on the truck and the trailer first off? So why would he have pulled over? Was he driving safe? If the driver should have been at a different location, similar to your previous story.
Yep.
And his pre-check and his post-check logs as well. So how often was he checking the equipment to verify that everything is proper and in its place? If it was something simple that was part of his pre-check or post-check, would have been identified before he left on the trip. It should have been caught. Those are my big hitters.
Cool.
KP.
We'll help you out, KP.
Sure.
It's none of those.
Oh, and I was so confident. Come on, John. Now you got confidence in the answer.
Okay, before the confidence, can we go into a little bit what exactly happened? I kind of zoned out for a little bit there. Sorry.
Back in the
Yep.
truck, trailer pushed the tractor forward.
Okay, so we had the trailer parked up to the side.
Side of the road, lights on. Mobile comes in, parks in front of the truck, and they're working on it.
Yeah.
Another car comes in, and nobody can see this demonstration. This is like spot on. We got a remote, a controller, everything's good. Comes in, rams in the back of the trailer and the truck.
This is on the shoulder right now.
On the shoulder.
Yep.
This guy
All on the
was the-
shoulder. Off
Yeah.
the
Whatever he
away
did,
from
yeah.
the live lane. Yep.
Smashes into this, moves this 10 feet forward. So imagine 44,000 pounds of freight. The tractor.
And this is daytime or nighttime?
Ooh, good question.
This was I think it was daytime if I remember correctly. It was late in the afternoon, early evening. Not quite dusk, but not dark.
So our instinct says it's this guy's fault.
Yeah.
But John's saying, well, obviously we know it's not because we're talking about this. But what, besides what I said, what other reasons could it be the driver's fault?
Did the driver have the proper precautionary thing set up? I know you
Yeah,
said
he did.
he had the triangles, but
triangles.
I think they also supposed to have flares up as well. No, or is it flares or no, not flares.
Flares, triangles.
Yeah,
Either or.
either or. Okay.
Uh,
It was
have the
daytime, so
lights
it doesn't
on.
matter if that.
It's a trick question. John's
It is
smart.
a trick question. You'll never get it.
I'll never get it. All right, let's
Let's hear
answer that.
John.
Let's answer.
Besides torturing your peer report
Okay,
VP here.
So obviously it's the pickup driver's fault. But again, the family, lawyers up, gets a plaintiff's attorney involved. And the plaintiff attorney, this is what plaintiff attorneys are good for. And I'm not saying they're bad by any means. They're smarter than your defense lawyers is what they are. So they're looking for something to take you away from the actual cause of the crash.
Yeah, put
And I'll
doubt
come
in it.
back and tell you why in a minute. So anyway, as part of the process of investigating this incident,
Sure.
the plaintiff attorney is going to contact the defense lawyer and subpoena records. He wants to see things. So wants to see the maintenance of the vehicle, right? Wants to look at pre-trip inspection documents, wants to see the qualification records of the driver, wants to see training records of the driver, wants to see the driver's driving abstract, wants to see the qualifications front to back, and wants to check everything out, right? Want to make sure. I want to check drug tests, make sure this guy's supposed to be on the road. Interesting enough, after a couple of years of getting all this documentation and whatnot, the lawyer reaches out and says, we want $4 million from you, Mr. Trucking Company. And they're like, what the hell for? We're not at fault. Well,
No, give us
No,
the goods.
you froze. Oh, you froze, John.
oh,
Recap,
You're back.
recap 10
You
seconds.
left off of 4 million.
anyway, so the plaintiff attorney discovers that the driver qualification files are not current.
Oh,
There are certain required documents that are supposed to be in this driver qualification file on an annual basis. There's an expiry date with them. They're not up to snuff. They notice that the driver's abstract has a number of violations on it. They notice that he's had some mechanical defects in the past. Now, the vehicle is fully mechanically fit. It's fine. It has a minor defect that he's getting repaired. That's not any fault of the maintenance. But what it's showing is that this driver is not very careful at maintaining his vehicle inspection records and his own driver's license. And then the carrier on top of that is not doing a good job at keeping the documentation up to date. So what they've determined in the US, this is another one in the US, they've determined that that driver was unqualified to operate a motor vehicle, commercial motor vehicle at the time of the collision. So therefore, should never have been behind the wheel. Therefore, he never would have broke down. Therefore, he never would have been on the side of the road. Therefore, that guy never would have run
these
into
things
him.
are such therefores though. That's like
Well,
the what
Yep.
ifs.
well, yeah, but why can't we go back to the driver that hit the back of it? Was he drinking? Was he doing that? Like, he should have even.
Yep,
What if
he was.
never
Actually,
there?
he was drinking. He was drunk.
Well-
So here's the trick of the thing. So this scenario and the one that I had before, right? Plaintiff lawyers are involved and they're fighting it. They take your attention away from the actual cause of the incident and they bring it over to something else. And this is what's called reptilian theory. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to scare the jury into realizing we have an unsafe driver on the road. It's not the fact that this guy from our own county drove into the back of this. It's this guy. He's the bad guy, because if he'd never been here, our guy would have just carried on down the road, maybe drove in the field. He'd be all right. He might be alive today, right? Even though he's really the major cause, that's not how they're going to spin it. They're going to scare the jury into thinking, if we don't get this guy off the road, if we don't stop these truck drivers from doing what they're doing, you might be the next person. And that's where this reptilian theory comes in. And plaintiff lawyers love using it because it scares the jury to hell. And so they want to do big rewards. So in this case, there was a $4 million claim on the carrier. And I think the car was about $2 million they had to pay up. So this again shows, back to the safety aspect of every carrier, is it's not only hiring the right driver, it's validating and qualifying the right driver, providing him with all the training he needs, but also making sure the documentation is spot on, because the documentation is what's going to sink you.
That just seems so unfair.
It is totally unfair, Matt. It's totally unfair. But the problem is there's nothing to stop it, because it's about the jury. And if the plaintiff lawyer can get the jury to think his way, all the better.
But, I mean, didn't they appeal that case? Didn't they bring it to the court of higher courts to kind of have a judiciary review versus they?
It's not complete yet, so there's that possibility it could. Yeah.
That to me just like, it would scare me to be even on the road. Like, I would be afraid to even operate them. I'd be more nervous behind that wheel than actually just focusing on my job at that point.
Yep. But this is where, as carriers, and myself as risk managers being able to help carriers, it's trying to educate them. This is what's out there, guys. This is what the plaintiff lawyers are looking for and what they're going to do. And we can rectify this. We can be prepared for this, right? because we can go, I got all my ducks in a row. My I's are dotted, my T's are crossed, my Q's are in order, my P's are standing up straight. So, and that's what I'm supposed to do anyway. As a carrier, I need to follow the rules of the law, the regulations, whether it be Canadian or US. So if I do all this and make sure everything's in place, less likely I'm going to have this problem, because they're not going to find the problem.
Yeah, but soon enough, watch. We talked about the driver. That's a great situation. But I'll give you another scenario. One that actually happened. I remember when I worked at my previous place, where it was the trailer was owned by the company, but it was not under the power of the company. And so they brokered it out. The guy grabbed power only. He went out to the States. Accident. 100% carrier's fault.
Yep.
Right. Partial blame goes back on the trailer. Why?
Yep.
Shouldn't have had it in the first place. For whatever reason, whatever it was, they came back and they had to put up a couple $1 million for it too. And they did everything in their power. They said, we requested it. They said, you should have declared it stolen. They came up with whatever excuse. Should have never been out on the road, because that was there and it should have never been with that carrier. You're liable for it.
Yeah.
That's BS.
So true. And that's happened so many times. So let's take one I'm sure you're familiar with from the brokerage end of it, is a huge lawsuit that took place several years ago with C.H. Robinson to the tune of $23 million.
Pressuring the driver to take the load, that one?
Yeah. So, and the
That's my
big
next one.
problem there was the carrier that took the freight, one, didn't have a very good safety record, but the big one, he didn't have enough insurance.
Yeah.
So with all the things that took place, there was people killed and hurt and whatnot in there, and they stemmed it right back. They kept looking for avenues, and that's what they're doing, is where do I go to find more money?
Yeah.
And now they find out, whoa, C.H. Robinson brokered you the load. Oh, well, let's see what they did, And when they found out that they didn't do it properly, they didn't cross all their T's and dot their I's, that's when it came out, oh, well, guess what? We're going to drag you in here. And you guys have got really deep pockets. So it may have been the same scenario from the one that you were just touching on, where another carrier pulling that carrier's trailer. Could have been the first carrier didn't have enough money. So they're looking for more avenues. And where do we go? The carrier you work for has very big pockets.
Well, even that, I heard there was I don't know if it went through, or there was a law case even of a broker, when they pressured the driver said, hey, I'm out of hours. And it goes, I don't care, you need to get there no matter what. I'm going to get a $1,000 fine from Walmart. And I think even went back to, not Walmart, whoever it was, they went back to that vendor even, they went that far back, because they said, had that broker not had so much immense pressure fiscally to cover that load, they would never put that pressure on that driver. They would never had that pressure to push that load. So therefore, they're liable as a vendor as well from the beginning.
Very much so.
It's like the hot coffee scenario. You know that you're buying coffee. You know it's hot. But it still has to say caution. Be careful. Don't touch it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why a lot of the safe companies, and John, you can attest to this, a lot of the great big safe companies out there, they have the first right of refusal. The driver said, I don't feel safe. I'm not taking it.
Yep.
Stop dead.
Yep.
They're not moving it. They don't care. They'll call back, go to the back, call the customer. Like my driver, customer will yell, we're never hauling a pound. We don't care. Because our safety of our drivers is paramount, right?
It's back to that safety culture.
Yep.
I have a good culture in place. I empower my drivers, my staff, my team to make the right decisions. So, and that's what they need to do. I don't care that you've maxed out your hours. If you're not feeling well, you need to pull it over. You're going to be safer. I can call the customer and go, let's make another appointment for delivery, because that'll be a whole lot cheaper than us digging it out of the ditch in the morning.
Yep.
So, but that's again, it comes back to that culture. It's not only behavior of the driver, it's behavior of the company. And we know for a fact, we use this phrase all the time. Everybody does it. It starts at the top and works its way down, right? So if I don't have the right culture and behavior at the top of the pyramid, what do you expect the bottom guys to do? They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
They're not going to give two hoots. So it becomes a big issue. So again, back to the driver, interview the carrier. Throw scenarios at the carrier. Well, okay, so if I had this situation and the dispatch is pressuring me, what's the deal? What do I got to do? If a guy says you need to go, customer rules around here, then what you need to do is thank the guy or person, get out of your chair and leave and go find somebody else. So because that's not what you want. You want to work for a good carrier that's going to go, oh no, No. We would have a conversation, find out what's going on, understand the situation, and we give you the power. So if the weather's bad, you're not feeling well, something's not right, truck breaks down, we get you parked, we deal with it.
Even to that point, even if you get as a driver or as a carrier, you get a load and it's paying great. There's something other kind of pressure coming down that when you drive into an unsafe situation, be careful. Don't pressure. That's why I always told all my guys, like if you're in a hot load, don't ever pressure. Never put it in writing. Never tell the guy he has to do it. If you can't do it, accept it and move on to the next guy. Either go back to the customer or have another conversation with them. Like, what is blocking you from doing it? See if you can do it safely. Help map it out. Find a different solution. Pressuring him, just going, you got to do it because I'm gonna never work with you again. No, those aren't the right answers.
There's a phrase for that, and we call that profits over safety. And that's the last thing you want to be have that label on your company, because in the event of a lawsuit and they find out, oh, they always put profits ahead of safety, you're done. The plaintiff lawyers are going to rip you apart. So, and you may even have a hard time finding a defense lawyer to defend you. So, but and a lot of companies don't seem to understand that. They think, oh no, profits and safety are equal around here. No, they can't be. You've got to have safety first, then profits. So that means your operation team has to work with your safety department. It's not your safety department works with your operation team. It's safety comes first. If there's a problem, we sit down like adults, we talk it out, figure out what's going on, and weigh the pros and cons and get you to understand Murphy's Law is going to come in here somewhere and it's going to bite you.
That's right. And on that note, John, I think we've come to a good place to kind of call it a podcast. And we had a great time with you joining us today.
I did too. It was awesome. We're going to do this again.
Absolutely. Safety is something that you don't just talk about once. You just keep talking about it.
We'll have you back for season 3.
We're going to find someone who's unsafe. We're going to be educating them, I think, next time. We'll find someone to bring out here and go teach them, John.
We'll bring Evan.
There you go. There we go. I have a stick in the closet we can use.
Yeah. And hopefully next time we'll be live. We'll sit down and have a nice cool chat about it. But John, honestly, it was a great time chatting with you. Anybody ever have any questions about safety, feel free to reach out to John. John does have that service about consulting, and we'll talk about safety. Any questions? You're a new driver, you're curious about it. I think John's the guy where you got to start off before you even think about getting into a truck. Learn a little bit more about it. Yeah, I bet you he has lots of articles, lots of great commentary to get you thinking. And let's start off there. KP, anything you want to add on that?
No, just thank you so much for your time, John. I definitely learned a lot. Safety, I guess, not something too much that we focus on our end. We should be focusing more on in terms of the broker side, like you mentioned, in terms of understanding what the actual reports mean and stuff like that. So I'll be definitely going back and checking that, like the insurance more safely, and looking at the safer website in terms of what you mentioned in terms of crash percentage and stuff like that. So
to qualify your question, we're very safe conscious. We got to get better at reading the safety of carriers. Not that we're not safe.
No, not that we're not safe. Not that we're not safe. No, exactly. We're doing a good job. We have a good vetting. We have a good vetting process. We take due diligence. We never force our drivers. A1 service. If you want to drive, come drive for us. You'll be taken care of. But I myself have to do a better job at looking at the metrics.
Yep. And that's what it is. Learning opportunities just to be able to say, hey, I know more.
Oh, John, and on that note, thank you again so much. Have a great night, and we'll probably see you soon. Cheers.
Definitely. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye.